Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be giving you the recap of the 2018 horror sci-fi film Bird Box. As always, a quick reminder, this video contains major spoilers, so stay alert and take care of yourselves. The opening scene begins with a radio announcement urgently instructing any remaining survivors to head toward a rescue center as soon as possible. A catastrophic event is unfolding worldwide, causing massive loss of life. Next, the scene shifts to a mother with her two children. She warns them strictly and prepares them for a dangerous journey to the rescue center. The center is located far downstream along a long river. According to the announcement, traveling by river is the fastest and safest route, but taking children along makes the journey even more challenging. However, this mother is prepared for the worst possible situation. She has set two strict rules for her children. Rule 1, they must always keep their eyes covered with a blindfold. Rule 2, they must remain completely silent throughout the journey, and if they hear anything, they must inform her immediately. As the mother firmly delivers these instructions, along with the threat of punishment if they break the rules, the children nod in agreement. Soon after, they gather their pet birds and put on their blindfolds before stepping outside. They quickly move downward, following a rope that was tied beforehand to guide their way. It doesn't take long for them to reach the river, where they find a boat. They climb in and begin their journey downstream. The movie then jumps back 5 years to show how this terrifying catastrophe began and why people must keep their eyes covered. We are introduced to Mallory, a pregnant woman preparing for her routine prenatal checkup, accompanied by her sister Jess. Mallory, an artist, is so absorbed in her work that she often remains unaware of what's happening around her. Jess informs her about the strange incidents happening in the East. People in Russia and several other regions are suddenly killing themselves. But Mallory doesn't take it seriously. She says the chaos is too far away to worry about. Eventually, they head out for the checkup, where a friendly doctor attends to them. On their way out, Mallory, who had stayed behind to use the restroom, witnesses a woman repeatedly slamming her head against a wall, as if determined to kill herself. That's when Mallory realizes the bizarre happenings have now reached their city as well. She quickly runs back to Jess. Jess drives fast, trying to escape the chaos spreading throughout the city while people around them are running for their lives. Suddenly, Mallory's phone starts ringing from inside her bag. As she turns to answer it, Jess's eyes suddenly turn pale and cloudy. She begins acting strangely, as if she is seeing something horrifying that Mallory cannot see. Before Mallory can process anything, Jess loses control of the car and crashes into a stationary vehicle. Mallory manages to crawl out of the wreck, but is horrified to see Jess abruptly step in front of an oncoming truck. Jess's death leaves Mallory devastated, but she has no choice. She must run for her life just like everyone else. While fleeing, she trips and falls, but luckily a couple notices her. The woman rushes to help, but before she can pull Mallory up properly, she suddenly goes insane herself and walks straight into a burning car, which explodes moments later. Right then, a man named Tom grabs Mallory and runs toward a nearby house. A female police officer also joins them. Inside, 5 people had already taken shelter, and soon a few more join, including Douglas, whose wife was the woman who tried helping Mallory before going mad. As everyone shares what they've witnessed, Tom explains that anyone who sees the entity immediately becomes disoriented and feels an overwhelming urge to harm themselves, which ultimately leads to death. He instructs everyone to cover the windows, as news reports are also advising people to stay indoors. But with network signals collapsing, no one really knows what's going on outside. The movie then cuts back to Mallory and her children on the river. 6 hours have passed, and so far the journey has remained calm. Once the kids fall asleep, Mallory tries contacting the rescue center via radio, but receives no response. Even then, she doesn't stop traveling along the river. After 8 hours, a man's voice calls out, offering to help them, but he keeps insisting that they remove their blindfolds, which immediately raises suspicion. As the man approaches, Mallory warns him to stay back with her Glock, and she orders the children to lie down. But since he can see while Mallory is blindfolded, the man manages to grab her. He tries to forcibly remove her blindfold, but Mallory fights back and eventually defeats him using her machete. As they drift away, the man screams that everyone must look, that only by seeing can they be purified. Even then, Mallory can't help wondering how he could see the creature yet not harm himself. The story then shifts back to the early days of the outbreak. Everyone in the house begins adjusting to this new and terrifying way of life. Just a few hours after the apocalypse began, they hear knocking at the door, a woman pleading for help. Fortunately, it isn't a threat. She turns out to be a pregnant woman wearing a blindfold, going from house to house searching for safety. But food supplies start running low, and demand keeps increasing. Soon they find themselves facing a serious shortage. The homeowner suggests they try using the CCTV system to observe the outside, since the entity could be viewed indirectly through a screen without directly looking at it. If the method proves safe, they could use it later to search for food as well. He volunteers to test the idea himself, willing to take the risk. They tie him to a chair, so that if the experiment goes wrong, he won't be able to harm himself. Everything seems to be going according to plan, but suddenly, they hear a loud commotion from the room. When everyone rushes in, they find the man lying on the floor, the chair overturned. He had hit his head and died instantly. Shocked, they smash the monitor and regroup to make a new plan. If they want to survive, they must quickly find another solution. As a last resort, they decide to go to the supermarket to gather food supplies. One of their group members, Charlie, used to work there and had locked up the store right before chaos broke out. Mallory, Tom, Douglas, Charlie, and the police officer join the mission. They cover all the windows of the car and rely entirely on the GPS to navigate the roads. They drive toward the supermarket without opening their eyes, navigating through piles of dead bodies and abandoned vehicles, sometimes running over them, sometimes swerving around. They finally reach their destination. With Charlie's help, they unlock the supermarket and get inside. They immediately cover all the windows to ensure not even a glimpse of the outside can be seen. Once inside, everyone breathes a sigh of relief at the sight of all the food stacked up. Douglas even suggests that they should just live here permanently. But before they can think about how to get supplies back to the others at the house, a knocking sound echoes from a locked back room. From behind the door, a man pleads in agony, "Please, let me in, help me." Tom steps forward, ready to assist. The moment he cracks the door open, Charlie freezes in shock. He recognizes the man. It's a former convict, dangerous and likely mentally unstable, who behaves unpredictably in such a situation. Someone exactly like this man, the one begging to be let in. And the more they question him, the more agitated he becomes. Suddenly, he whispers to Charlie, "Just look, just once." In that moment, it becomes clear the man's intentions are anything but good. Unfortunately, he's unbelievably strong. Pushing the door with brute force, he almost overpowers everyone. Just then, Charlie makes a heroic decision. He rushes forward, throws himself into the room, and shoves both the man and the door shut from the inside. And then Charlie does the unthinkable. He looks at the entity. It becomes evident that this invisible presence somehow recruits mentally unstable people, turning them into followers, almost like an army meant to help it take over humanity. This is why Mallory wasn't scared when she met that man on the river years later. He was one of those followers already under the entity's influence. The police officer suddenly escapes with the car, taking with her another member of the group, with whom she had been having a secret affair. Even so, the remaining survivors stay calm, as there is still plenty of food. Tom stays close to Mallory, helping her through everything, and the bond between them grows deeper over time. A few months later, in an unexpected coincidence, both pregnant women give birth on the same day. But the joy of motherhood doesn't last long, because one day, a mentally unstable follower of the entity manages to enter their home. He opens the windows, and using his ability to see without harming himself, he brutally kills most of the people inside within moments. Tom finally manages to stop him, but by then, the damage is already done. Mallory survives with her newborn son and the baby girl whose mother died moments earlier. The story then jumps forward 5 years. During this time, under the care of Tom and Mallory, the two children grow up. Mallory names them simply boy and girl, reflecting the emotional distance and fear she carries within herself. They survive as a small but tightly bonded family, gathering food, exploring the forest, and every evening, Tom keeps the children entertained with his stories. One day, their radio suddenly picks up a signal. A man introduces himself as Rick and claims he runs a kind of safe community. But when he begins asking for their exact location and how many people are with them, Mallory becomes suspicious. Tom, however, sees it differently. He follows Rick's directions and tries to determine the location of the refuge. Because the distance is long, the only way to reach it is by river, and the journey will take 2 full days. Mallory remains doubtful, but Tom starts preparing for every potential danger. Tom's fears soon turn out to be real. A group of hostile survivors attacks them, and Tom makes a decision. He will stay behind and fight. He is ready to pay any price to protect his family. This creates a chance for Mallory and the children to escape, following Tom's strict instructions. He tells her, "If I don't come back in 15 minutes, start the journey." The attackers are armed, but Tom, being a former Marine, takes down 2 of them effortlessly. Unfortunately, the remaining criminals spot Mallory escaping. In that moment, Tom realizes he has no other choice. He removes his blindfold, all for the sake of Mallory and the children. The scene is brutal. Tom fights off the enemies until his very last moment, but eventually he becomes exposed to the entities. Still, he continues to battle fiercely, sacrificing himself so his family can live. Following Tom's instructions, Mallory prepares for the journey with the children, just as we saw in the opening scene of the film. But Tom never returns. Left with no other choice, Mallory retrieves the hidden boat and begins their journey down the river. The story returns to the present timeline. Mallory and the children continue drifting downstream. Suddenly, they encounter a terrifying stretch of rapids. According to Rick, this is the final test. To survive, one of them must open their eyes and guide the boat. Mallory is torn apart inside. She must choose one child to open their eyes, but how? She could never risk her own child. Yet the idea of putting the little girl in danger fills her with guilt. Ultimately, Mallory makes her decision. No one will open their eyes. Whatever happens, they will face it blindly. She tells the children to hold on tightly. Together, the three of them steer straight into the raging rapids. But before long, the violent currents flip the boat over. After a desperate struggle against the water, Mallory manages to grab the children again, and all three of them scramble toward the forest. Rick had said, "Follow the sound of the birds," and they would eventually reach a wall. If they followed that wall, they would find the gate to safety. They begin trekking through the woods, and then the entities begin their cruel game. They try to manipulate Mallory, mimicking voices of the people she once knew, whispering, "Take off your blindfold, Mallory." But she does not listen. She pushes forward step after step, refusing to give in. Suddenly, she trips and falls. For a moment, she gets separated from the kids, and slowly the children begin to drift farther and farther away. Then the entities imitate Mal's voice, telling the kids, "Take off your blindfolds, I'm telling you." The children are tempted, but fear and hesitation hold them back just long enough. And in that moment, Mal finds them. Following the sound of the birds, they start running. While the invisible entities chase them from behind, the tree branches tremble. The surroundings feel filled with enemies, but Mal grabs both children tightly and runs with every ounce of strength she has until they finally see a faint glimmer of safety. Chased relentlessly, Mal eventually finds the gate and desperately starts knocking. Soon, the gate opens, and Mal breathes a sigh of relief. Before entering, their eyes are checked to ensure they are not part of the infected ones. Once everything is confirmed, they are welcomed inside. At that moment, they finally meet Rick in person and learn the truth. This rescue center is actually a school for the blind, which means everyone here has survived, and they've invited other survivors to take shelter as well. The birds here give warnings whenever the entities are nearby. Suddenly, Mal notices the doctor who took care of her during her pregnancy has also reached this place. She gently holds the children and lets them play. For the first time in their lives, boy and girl get to play with other kids, and they enjoy it wholeheartedly. In honor of all mothers. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content. And if there's any movie you want us to recap, let us know in the comments. See you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.